what's your main concern, Daniel? Do you see the possibility that we have a cascade of bankruptcies, a waterfall of bankruptcies that leads back to the banks and just takes them out of business? And are only the European banks those at risk? I mean, the U.S. making the same mistakes, in your opinion?
I think it's different. I think that in the U.S., you have mark-to-market, and you also have a real economy that is much less dependent on the banking sector than in the Eurozone. In the United States, the real economy is financed by the banking system. By less than 15% of the real economy is financed through the banking system. However, in the Eurozone, it's about 80%. Therefore, any challenge to the ability of banks to deliver on the mechanism of transmission of monetary policy generates ripple effects in the economy. And as well, because banks finance about 80% of the real economy, the businesses that are failing right now because of zero sales and working capital build, those are going to be added very quickly into a non-performing loan portfolio that was already, in any case, still high despite the recovery. So I'm quite concerned about the risk of adding further risk in banks' balance sheets just to offset the effects of the pandemic and the effects of the lockdown in particular. But I'm particularly concerned about the level of, I would say, optimism from governments about the impact of this period of lockdown in the overall economy. Most governments, particularly the southern economies, are relying on a V-shaped recovery that is extremely difficult because last year already the Eurozone economy was very weak and was helped fundamentally by the travel and leisure sector, which accounted for almost 35% of the overall GDP growth of the Eurozone. So you cannot expect that once the lockdown is over, that sector is going to go back to the levels at which it was in January. So there are numerous levels of challenges. Additionally, many of the companies that have done a very good job at reducing leverage in the last 5 years, simply because of the collapse of EBITDA, are going to find themselves with a net debt to EBITDA that might be double what they were publishing in December. So the problem is larger than what governments are looking at. Governments think that locking the economy for a few months is going to have virtually no impact and that everything goes back to normal. That is impossible and particularly difficult in a Eurozone in which the ability to attract new investment once things start to work and function adequately is much poorer than in China or in the United States.
Daniel, thanks very much for your thoughts this morning. Good to speak to you. Daniel Lacalle joining us there from Tressis, Chief Economist, of course, at Tressis. Up next on the European Market Open, cutting down on